I arrived in Devon on the first day of May. As there is no public transport available, I was making my way on foot along roads, tracks and footpaths across Dartmoor to a moorland church on the edge of the moor. My journey took me along a winding lane to a gate which had a signpost next to it which said Public Bridleway, and a board on the gate saying soil erosion. On the other side lay the moor, stretching away into the distance. I passed flocks of sheep roaming the downs, granite outcrops of rock scattered among the gorse, pools and streams on my way to the church. My name is Marcus. I'm an artist. I'd been asked by an elderly gentleman, Giles Appleby, whom I'd met in the Sistine Chapel in Rome, if I'd be interested in painting stories from the Bible on the ceiling of a decommissioned country church that had come into his possession. The ceiling was divided into 76 panels. There was nothing ornate about the building. It was not austere. It was simple and peaceful. At the back of the church was the tower that Giles was going to turn into a living accommodation. He'd agreed with me that I could sleep in one of the upper rooms that contained a solitary church bell. From the top of the church I could see the moor. To the north was a hut. I'd noticed there were some clothes laid out on some of the gravestones. To the west I could see a clump of trees, and to the south was the graveyard, where I first saw a person walking away from the church who would feature so strongly in my summer in Devon. When I descended the tower to see who it was, they'd gone. Inside the hut there was a camp bed and a book of poems. Was this where the person I had just seen was living? As I looked round the church, I noticed a music stand in the north aisle. Someone, I thought, must be using the church to practice in. Was this the person living in the hut? Then I noticed a scaffolding. Giles had placed it there, ready for me to start painting. I had barely begun painting when I heard the sound of the church door opening and a child's voice calling out, "Mr. Marcus, Ma says here's some apples for you. We live opposite. My name's Lizzie." I started painting the first 4 panels of the beginning of the world, a star-filled universe with the light of the earth approaching on outstretched wings. In the next 2 panels, the earth spinning into existence with the light of a star guiding it into being as it travels across the heavens until it comes to its final resting place, revealing the 4th panel with the Garden of Eden emerging from the vortex. I had just finished painting the beginning of the world, and I was looking at what I had done when a voice behind me said, "Hello." I turned and saw a woman looking at me who I guessed must be the mother of the girl who brought me the apples. "Hello," I said. "Thank you for the apples." "Apples?" she said, looking puzzled. "Your daughter brought me some apples." "Who? Lizzie?" she replied. "Yes, it was very kind of you." She had a deep, throaty laugh. "Lizzie's not my daughter," she said. "I'm Terry, the gardener." "Ah, you live in the shed behind the church." "Yes," she said. Terry was to become my best friend. I was in the church tower finishing details to a series of sketches on the Garden of Eden. Adam being drawn out of the earth by God, Eve being drawn out of Adam's rib, the serpent offering Eve an apple from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. When I heard gentle music coming from the church, it was heartrending. Suddenly it became a nightly farce, as though the musicians had lost their temper. Then there was silence. Until, without any warning, the sound of the organ blared out at its loudest. Causing me to jump. But the emotional impact of this manic music gave me the creative impulse to paint the story of Cain, who, having ransacked the earth and murdered his brother, is standing in hell. A bolt of lightning flashing down from heaven has scarred his forehead with a bloody wound. There is an abject look of terror on Cain's face. I had painted 10 panels without a break. I was exhausted and emotionally drained. I needed a change of scene. As I walked out into the moor, passing wild Dartmoor ponies huddled together against an outcrop of rock, along an old railway track going towards the centre of the moor, with standing stones to mark the way, towards a desolate-looking tor in the distance, I thought to myself, who was this person who had had such a powerful effect on my painting? I'd been careful not to introduce myself to her, making sure I was always at the top of the scaffold when she arrived. Terry told me that her name was Maria, a refugee from Kiev, whose home had been destroyed. She was finding it difficult to acclimatize herself to her new surroundings. She'd been a violinist with the Kiev Symphony Orchestra. She was staying nearby and used the church as a place where she could be on her own to practice. Some days later, I was painting the story of the Tower of Babel, the tallest building in the world, like the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. When Maria entered the church, I thought she was Lizzie and clambered down the scaffold to meet her. "Hello, Lizzie." I'm so sorry. I thought you were Lizzie." I was captivated by her beauty. My ability to concentrate on painting was shattered. I was unable to do anything. I lay staring at my painting of a building surrounded by people who were fleeing in every direction. It was imprinted with her face. As Maria grew used to my being in the church while she played, she became more relaxed. Her playing seemed to mirror my paintings, as though she was watching what I was doing. While I was painting the story of Jacob wrestling with God, she started playing gentle violin music, which gradually spiraled into madness as the fight with God became more intense. When Maria saw the picture, she was impressed. "I help you paint this?" she asked. "Yes, Maria," I said. "You inspired me with your playing." "I help you every day," she said. "Thank you, Maria. Please, call me Marishka." "Marishka?" "Yes." And then the church bells started ringing, and Terry appeared from the bell tower calling out, "Marcus, Giles is coming to see how you're getting on. He's bringing a friend with him, Sir Edmund Philpotts from the Royal Academy of Arts." It was the moment everything changed. Builders arrived to start work converting the tower into a living accommodation. Then Giles arrived with the president of the Royal Academy, and Maria disappeared for a week. I panicked. By the time they departed, I was a nervous wreck. But to my huge relief, Giles and Sir Edmund Philpotts were delighted with the paintings. and Maria returned. "What music you want me to play, Marcus? Light-hearted Ukrainian folk music?" Everything was going well. With Marishka's playing, I was painting better than ever before, until I made the terrible mistake of telling her about the Egyptians attacking the Israelites, enslaving them and slaughtering their children. I hadn't realized how close these stories were to her experience of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. What a fool I had been. She was inconsolable. But I hadn't taken into account her indomitable Ukrainian spirit. Whatever I painted, she mirrored with music, leading me through a war zone of emotions that left both of us exhausted after a week of ceaseless anger. I had to remind myself that the purpose of these paintings was not only to display human ceaseless folly, but also to chart a pathway to a better world. I had almost come to the end of painting the south aisle roof. I had just finished the last panel above the church entrance of a vision of the promised land when Marishka returned to Kiev to see her brother who had been fighting in the Donbass region. I knew her visit home would be traumatic. I wanted her to face a more hopeful future on her return. So I moved the scaffolding from the south aisle to the front of the north aisle and started painting the birth of a baby in a cattle shed spread across the first 4 panels of the ceiling. I had just finished the painting when Marishka arrived back from Ukraine. I didn't know she was in the church until I heard an inborn cry like a hiccup. Marishka was leaning against the pulpit looking at the painting. There were tears in her eyes. She looked exhausted. I was about to clamber down the ladder when I heard her say, "Don't come down. I've just come to let you know I'm back." I scrambled down the scaffold, but before I could ask her how she was, she'd gone. I ran round the side of the church, hoping she was with Terry, but Terry was on her own, strumming the grass. "Hello," she said. "What brings you here at this time of day?" "Marishka's back again. I thought you seemed agitated. What do you want me to do about it?" "She's just been at the church. She didn't stay. She's gone." "Whoa, Marcus, not so fast. She was crying. What should I do?" "Go and see her." I found her sitting on a bank, looking out over the moor. "How did you know I'd be up here?" she asked me. "I've often seen you coming up here," I said. "I thought you wouldn't come back." "It was terrible, Marcus." "I will stay with you, Marcus, until you finish the ceiling. I help you paint. I play for you, but my time in Donetsk was very bad, very sad. I have to go back. I can be nurse, I can fight, I can play violin, I can do many things there. Here I can do nothing except help you with painting. We finish painting. We make statement. I help you every day. Now you must go back to paint. I see you tomorrow." So I painted like a madman. I painted pictures of Jesus being baptized, turning water into wine, healing the blind, curing the deaf, helping the dumb to speak, caring for the wounded, and bringing a dead person back to life. We had gone to the beach one day and I had nearly drowned. Marishka saved me. The experience of drowning and then hearing Marishka calling me back to life gave me the inspiration to paint this picture. As a consequence, our relationship became increasingly intimate. And then the bombshell came. I was at the top of the scaffolding tower painting when Marishka came running into the church. "Marcus, my brother has been wounded in a rocket attack. I have to return to Ukraine." "Marishka!" I shouted as I clambered down the scaffold. Mariska! But she had gone. Without her, I was lost. In an angry reaction to the idiocy, the horror of war, I painted without stopping. If I stopped, I knew I'd never start again. I had to finish. I could do nothing else. Giles was coming the following week. I needed to be finished before he came. It had all been for nothing. Who would come and see these pictures? They'd lie in obscurity in the ruins of a church. I'd spent a whole summer achieving nothing. And then Terry told me. "I've finished, Marcus. I'm going back to London." I was crushed. Mariska had gone, and now Terry was leaving. I stood at the base of the tor. I saw her stretch out her hands as though she was about to ascend to heaven. "Those paintings are going to make you famous, Marcus," she said, as she put her gardening tools into the back of her old Land Rover. "They're going to make the church famous as well. Are you sure that's what you want? Your life will never be the same again." Bye. The day I was finishing the last panel, an elegantly dressed gentleman entered the church and was standing at the base of the scaffolding tower looking up at the paintings on the ceiling. He was a well-known artist's agent. Sir Edmund Philpotts had told him to have a look at my work with a view of taking me on as one of his clients. "Marcus, Mar says here are some apples for you." "Hello, who are you?" "Oh, my name is Nicholas Kane. I was just telling your father." "Marcus ain't my father," said Lizzie. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just telling Marcus how pleased I was that he wanted to join my agency." "I look forward to your joining us, Marcus." From the top of Dove Tor, I had seen that crystalline river flowing between the hills from the mysterious centre of the moor. I had seen the trees bearing their enticing fruit, and the green fertility of the land with the grazing sheep and cattle. I had seen the promised land. It was time to journey on to the unknown. As I left, I turned back at the Lech Gate. I took one last farewell look at the church. In my mind's eye, I could see Mariska by the porch, and Terry, and Saul Kane at the top of the tower. When I looked back down, they'd all gone. Was it all a dream? Or would the ceiling of a country church really become famous because the story of the Bible had been painted on its ceiling? I like to think that dreams can come true.